What's up YouTube, this is Bison X79 guys. Today I'm coming to you with my listing profile video for February 2020. And as you can see today we're going to be covering my True Draco deck. Alright, now, not going to lie to you guys, the last ban list was absolutely rude to this deck. We lost 2 copies of Dynamite Diagram, as well as 2 copies of Card Demise out of this deck. So yes, there were consistency hits to the deck. But just like all good Yu-Gi-Oh players that love their deck, we were not going to give up on this deck at all. And I can tell you this right now, True Draco players are still out there. We're still running this deck, and the deck does have some responses to the cards it did lose. Alright? Still can draw and search cards very easily. Maybe take a little slower now, but still not a bad thing. Okay, the deck's always been a slower base deck, and it does grind out games. We found ways to actually slow down your opponent via the empty field spell holes with Floodgate field spells now. So the deck is definitely going to be relying on those field spells in the deck to hold on your opponent, as well as their back row. So it's definitely going to be something to be interesting to see how it interacts with the current meta. Alright, so without further ado, we're going to get right into this. 1 copy of Dynamite Knight, the True Draco Warrior. Alright, now all True Draco monsters have an effect whenever your opponent activates any card effect, spell, trap, monster, while this card is tributed, summoned face up on the field. You can activate the effect and search out things from the deck. Draco Fighter right here can turn around and search out any of the True Draco or True King's trap cards from your deck to your hand, or even activate them on the field, which is actually very good considering Apocalypse can pop other True Draco cards on the field to cut your opponent's monsters in half, making it a little bit easier to get over opponent's monsters. Alright. 3 copies of Enos Heat, the True Draco Warrior. Alright, another great card. While this card should be summoned on the field, opponent activates effects, you're searching or activating the Draco spell cards from your deck, which is actually pretty awesome. The Draco spell cards give you additional draws as well as back row control, so that's actually pretty awesome as well. Alright. 2 copies of Majesty Maiden. Alright, Majesty should be summoned on the field. You're searching your other True Draco monsters when they activate effects, which is actually pretty cool. Being able to access your monsters very easily, always a good thing in any deck. Alright, and last but not least, we have 2 copies of Avoir. This is actually one of the better cards in this current format. Primarily because while this card is face up on the field, your opponent is not activating any card effects. Doesn't matter if they're on the field, in the hand, graveyard, or banished zone, they're not getting any effects at all, and it just shuts down your opponent's responses to your plays, allowing you to play a little bit less impeded, and it makes it very good. Alright. Now, we got Floodgate field spells, and the way to get into them and drop them on your opponent, very surprisingly, is 2 copies of Demise and Land, a special summon. Hey, guess what? You're getting that. You're a field spell on the field. And the Floodgate field spell that I run is I run 1 copy of Necrovalley and 2 copies of Domain of the True Monarchs. I think this is the right ratio for the deck to be utilizing. Domain of the True Monarchs basically locks down your opponent's extra deck. You can't special summon it while you control a tribute summon monster and you have no cards in the extra monster zone, which is very, very painful for every single deck that's out there. Necrovalley locks down your opponent's graveyard. So if you want to have a different way to attack those graveyard-based decks, Solemn Greats still out there. Sky Strikers to a degree can be hurt by this card, as well as things like Orcus, which is still floating around out there as well. So yes, definitely something that you want to have there. If you want to swap this out for a 3rd domain, go right ahead. But I like actually having this particular spread because it's a bit more surprising and off-putting on your opponent. Primarily because they can still play around with their graveyard while this card's face up. But while this card's face up, yeah, they're not getting any plays going, and that can actually hurt a lot of other decks. A lot worse than this card. Alright, so depending on the matchups, you may want to toggle the ratios of Necrovalley to domain. Of course, you gotta run Diagram and Terraform just to be able to see your field spells a little bit more often. Diagram, pretty self-explanatory. Power boosts all your Draco monsters up by 300 attack. Minus attack boost, but it does make them harder to kill because your opponent has to attack over them twice in order to get off the field. And also, let's not forget how it boosts the consistency of the deck by searching out other cards by popping them off, either off your field or out of your hand. Alright? For the True Draco spells, 2 copies of Heritage and 2 copies of Disciples. To be very honest, I found running 3 copies in this deck without Diagram kind of bricky. A lot of times I would open up with multiple copies of these cards in the hand and no way to get monsters on the field because I didn't draw into any of the monsters. I feel that 2 copies of the True Draco cards now is going to be pretty standard for most builds. Like I said before, both of these cards give you extra draws as well as back row removal effects when they're sent from the field to the graveyard. And let's not forget that they give you an additional tribute summon during your turn as well, so you can get multiple monsters on the field. Alright, for consistency, hey, Card Demise still at 1, still very good. This deck doesn't special summon a whole lot, so this card's anti-special summon effect after you activate it isn't that bad. Typically, you can be activating this card after you battle to draw deeper into your deck, set whatever your cards onto your back row, and then pass turn. And wait for your opponent to basically walk into your traps and be problematic to them completely. Alright? Continue to dig into your deck. You have 3 copies of Power Duality, pretty standard now. Again, this deck doesn't special summon a whole lot, so you don't have to really worry about it. And getting the right card for the right situation, always a plus. And last but not least, 1 copy of Upstart Goblin. This deck doesn't care that much about giving your opponent an extra 1,000 life points. It's designed to grind out your opponent, and basically this card helps you do it. So, for the Floodgates, Skill Drain, as well as 2 copies of Soul Drain, I find this is a very good ratio split. Considering that Soul Drain did come back to 3, but you don't really need to run it at 3 right now. 2 copies is all you really need. It basically blocks monster effects from being activated in the graveyard or banish zone, so that's awesome. And Skill Drain is blanket effect negation, always a good thing, especially in spam deck formats. Alright. To complement Skill Drain, 2 copies of the Monarch's Erupt. Pretty much it shuts down your opponent's card effects as long as they're not tribute summon, which is actually pretty awesome. There can only be 1. Just hurts your opponent's decks, especially if they're monotype. It holds them down very perfectly, so awesome card to have. 2 copies of Apocalypse and 1 copy of True King's Return. Apocalypse, like I said before, pops off another Draco card off the field. Cast all your opponent's monsters' attack. Both of the traps cards allow you to distribute something during your opponent's turn, which is actually pretty awesome. And when these cards are sent to the field of the graveyard, you're popping your opponent's monsters, so you get that field control. Hopefully, on the future list, we might get an extra True King's Return back alongside another Dynamite Knight. I think that could actually help the deck a little bit more moving forward. Alright. For a little extra kick in the pants for the consistency, 3 copies of Waterfall of Dragon Souls. Okay, this is actually pretty key for the deck right now. Basically, you could search any worm-type monster from your deck to your hand when you activate this card, or you can send a worm-type monster from the field or your hand, and then draw cards +1 to the number of worm-type monsters you sent to the graveyard. Alright, which is actually pretty awesome. You send 1, you get 2, you get a +1. You send 2, you get a +2. You get the idea. A lot of times, you can open up with this card, but might not be able to have a way to get into a monster. You can always search out your monsters and be able to summon them on the next turn, as long as you have some Floodgates in the field to hold on your opponent as well. And of course, last but not least, we have 3 copies of Solemn Judgment in here, basically to protect back row from various card effects, whether it be things like Cosmic Cyclone, Twin Twisters, heck, even Lightning Storm can be negated. And of course, if you want to slow down your opponent completely, you can always negate this summon to really hurt their plays. Alright? Guys, that's it for my True Draco deck profile for February 2020. I can tell you right now, good decks don't die, they only evolve. And even with the hits from the last ban list, this deck is still able to do what it does. I'm very excited. We get this deck back in action even after the latest hits, and I can tell you right now, I've been having a whole lot of fun with this deck. Guys, as always, if you like the deck, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more content like this on my channel, make sure to subscribe and enable notifications so you don't miss a single upload. Check out the description box below. Find the invite link to my Discord server. Join the conversation. We'd love to have you. Find the links to my social media, Reddit and Twitter, as well as the TCG Player affiliate link as well. So guys, if you want to help support the channel, use my TCG Player affiliate link when you shop on TCGplayer.com. Help the channel grow with your support. Alright guys, as always, until next time, peace.